I would give Marshall. I gotta give them their flowers. Obviously, 5A, defending 5A, state semifinalist. Well, I mean, state finalists.
Yeah.
But the 6A side of things, Coach. Whoa. Assess this district.
Okay, so once you get into the playoffs, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
District is tough. District has always been tough. Regardless of who you're playing, it's not a night off.
Yeah.
Right? But once you get into, the playoffs, man, Katy District is tough.
Tough.
Now you got the George Ranch, and George Ranch make it all the way to the third round.
Yes, sir.
They're tough, and now they flip us from this side to the other side, and we play Pasadena and Alvin Pearland, but that second round you got to play that Big East.
You got to.
And King, Attachida, St. Creek,
yeah.
And they're not. They're powerhouses in all athletics. You see what they just did at track, both boys and girls side. You see what they do in football.
We know what they're doing.
Right. So they're full of athletes. I think we're good. We're talented. We got good coaching in our district. It's just we run up on bad matchups sometimes.
Coach, what do you kind of learn? Obviously, like your last game was against CEG.
Yeah.
Second round. What do you take away from games like that in the playoffs? Because you've been in a lot of big playoff moments, not only as a head coach, but as assistant, also probably as a player.
Yeah.
Just talk about what do you take away with from games like that?
It hurts because after going through a season that we had the year before where you win 13 games and it's like you can kind of dread sometimes coming to work because you don't know what you're going to deal with. And you go into a season like this where everything is on point, everything is good, everything is positive, and nobody's worried about so much themselves. They're worried about winning. Man, you can't do anything but enjoy it. We lose the game, yeah, but you remember all of the good times, all of the bus trips. We went all the way to Conroe to Oak Ridge tournament. We went all the way to Clear Creek, League City for a tournament, the bus trips, going to eat. You try to remember all the positive things opposed to we lost to C.E. King. C.E. King was a better team than us. We gave it a good fight. And we got it down to 5, I think, with about 4 minutes to play. We just ran out of gas. They were a better team.
Coach, as a coach, you've been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. What motivates you to keep doing it?
Loaded question. So for me, it's helping young kids that look like me.
Oof, I like that. Elaborate on.
Yeah, so I grew up in Fort Bend. I went to E.A. Jones. I went to Mo City. And my 8th grade year, they shut down Quail Valley, and they split Quail Valley. Half went to Dulles, the other half went to Lake Oak. And they, for whatever reason, they split some of the kids at Missouri City, and we went to Dulles. So Dulles was overcrowded. Mo City was already a little overcrowded.
Shut down Quail Valley? That's crazy.
They shut down Quail Valley for a couple of years, yeah. When I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
And then they reopened it back up later.
Okay.
So I'm a Fort Bend kid too.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, I had guys that helped me. Coach Glasper at Mo City. He's now the assistant principal at the Crockett.
Okay.
Coach Martin, legendary Coach Martin, he was a football and basketball coach at Mo City, and then he jumped up to Missouri City, Real Ridge. Mm-hmm. Coach Black, and my 6th grade PE teacher, he used to always tell me, man, you're gonna be good, you're gonna be something someday. I just want to reciprocate that stuff to the youngsters that I see nowadays. I've lived basketball. I've been a part of basketball since I was 7 years old, and I stopped playing professionally when I was 32. That's a long time. So now it's my turn to get back to these youngsters.
Coach, talk about your upbringing. Because you said this journey started at 7. We talked off camera about Pops and, him coaching you. Talk about your upbringing, but also elaborate on your family.
Yeah, well, come from a sports background. My dad played at Sam Houston.
Okay.
My mom played in high school. And I was an only child for about 8 years until my brother popped up and he became a basketball player or just an athlete. So we did everything. I grew up playing baseball. Like that was my first love. Yeah. And then I started getting tall. My foot started growing out. Yeah. It was hard for us to find cleats. It was hard for us to find pants. Yeah. So it was always easy for us just to, put some shorts on and go hoop. Yeah. And then, once I got to high school, I went to Stafford my last 2 years of high school. I started out at Girls and Boys Preparatory Academy.
Okay.
I went with Ivan McFarland, me and my boy Ivan McFarland and some other guys. Yeah, we played. I didn't know it was going to be a basketball team. My mom just put me in there because I was struggling academically.
Okay.
So she wanted me to focus in on school. And then they say, I go to orientation and I see Ivan. And they say, they got a team. I said, I didn't know, but I'm happy now. So we're there for 2 years. Ivan goes to Real Ridge. I go to Stafford. And the only reason I went to Stafford because they built that brand new gym. That was like they built that my sophomore year. They finished it my
So that Stafford gym now.
Yeah. The year my sophomore year, they went to state.
Okay.
And they opened it. I think they played a couple games in there that year. And I went by there one day. I was like, man, I want to play there. And then I got a chance to go in there, and they had like the scoreboard in the middle. I was like, man, it's like I'm playing in college. Yeah. So, my dad had just moved over there. I go to Stafford, and I don't think I'm a good player. I'm just okay. I could shoot. I couldn't dribble. But
you're 6'8"?
When I got to Stafford, I was 6'8".
Okay.
And I did good.
I want you to elaborate because I'm a historian. So we're talking about we're going from boys and girls play to Stafford.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about those wars at Stafford. Like who were you guys playing? Because was Sealy still in you guys district?
So district was Sealy, Sweeney, Neville, Hitchcock, Rice Consolidated.
Okay.
Our biggest rival was Hitchcock.
Okay.
Sealy had Big Derek, what was his name? Robert? No, what was his name? Derek, I forget his name, but he went to Notre Dame, played football, middle linebacker.
Okay.
He was just a big bruiser. Yeah. He couldn't hoop. But Sweeney was just a bunch of athletes. But Hitchcock, you seen the video of the N1 guy, Mr. 720?
Yeah.
Me and him graduated. We got co-MVP at our senior year.
Oh,
so he was on that team.
Okay.
They had Chris Jordan, the coach at Hitchcock now. He was just a youngster. He was sophomore or junior.
Doing good then. 3 big days.
Could hoop, could shoot. He ended up going, I think, Sam Houston.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of other little athletes that just bothered us. And that would be the only team we would lose to in district. So my senior year, we played them first at our place, beat them by like 25-30.
How much you had?
I didn't have much because they focused in on me. I think I may have had like 12.
Okay.
12, 13.
Okay.
But we go to Hitchcock. I love the away games. I love silence in the crowd. We lose by like 6, but I had like 28.
Dang.
At Hitchcock, and we lose. It was crap, man. They cheated us. Houston team go down Galveston County, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
There's very few times you're going to win.
At that time, obviously you guys are Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Was it three at the time?
Three
at the time. So we're talking about, give me the year, like 90.
So I graduated 2000, so I got to Stafford 98, 99, 99, 2000.
So you're almost in the thick of things like what Willow Ridge was doing. Rashard Lewis and Haley, obviously your boy Stiggers.
Yes.
Carlos Hurt.
C-Lowe's.
Yeah. Carlos Hurt.
Derek Obasa
was Alton Ford.
Big Ford finished with me,
Yeah. So in 2000, obviously we're still, shout out George Williams for still trying to find you. If you want to come on the Easy Corner, we know that your help is great.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the city of Houston at that time as a basketball fan,
fire.
Because like you told me earlier, off camera, you and your dad are basketball junkies. So you're talking about Wheeler on Fridays, Butler Stadium on Saturdays.
Yep.
So, and I can't forget Lucas and Emeka Okafor. I can't forget you guys too. So
no.
Just talk about how loaded the city was at that time.
Man, so at the time, HISD was a fight. You got teams like Waltrip won state.
Yeah.
My junior year or sophomore year. And they had my boy Phil Williams, who picked one of the best shooters. He won Mr. Basketball in 2000 out of Texas. And they had Antonio Falou, one of the best players to come through Houston. Okay. I don't care what you say about Falou, one of the best players ever. Okay. Then Big Sid and Vince on the inside. Booker T was good.
Tag was
early. I think Tack finished with me. Mm-hmm. So he may have finished with me or maybe 01, I don't remember. Okay. But Tack was, man, it was on fire. Okay, so one of my favorite players, he's not popular. He was popular back then. A kid named Toshe Harvey. He went to Sharpstown. I just remember going to watch him one morning at Butler, and I think they were playing Bel Air or Westbury. I don't remember. But he was like 6'4", 6'5", and just so smooth. He had so many of those kids around Houston. Just that great size, pretty skilled, but just hoopers. Fort Bend side, George Williams, one of the best players to come through. TJ Daniel, like I said, one of my best friends, Ivan McFarland, my boy Donald Hogan was on that team.
Jay Simon was at Dulles.
Rashard, I remember going to the Elsick Real Ridge game when TJ and Daniel were freshmen. No, they were sophomores, I think. No, they were freshmen. And Rashard was a senior. No, they were freshmen.
I think Rashawn Pitt was his
98. So I think, well, they was whatever they were, I don't remember. And then Carlos was a youngster. He was like a sophomore playing on varsity. And that game was that we walk into Elsick and it's already packed. I mean, it's packed. And we sitting, there's 4 of us and we just sitting shoulder to shoulder. And I got a chance to see what Rashard up close, Rashard Lewis. Rashard shooting threes, getting the ball, dunking the ball, getting the crowd hype. It's unbelievable. So at that time, the city of Houston was on fire.
I know we kind of emphasize a lot of the players, but as a historian and a junkie myself, can you kind of emphasize on the great coaches back then? Because we know we always gonna say Ronnie Courtney. We know what Ronnie Courtney was doing in the late '90s, early 2000s. We know what Ronnie Courtney was doing. But other than him, what other great coaches did you see around?
Well, I got to shout out Coach Courtney because that's my OG.
Yeah.
You know, he's my first head coach. I call him whenever I want, and whenever I need, and he's always going to pick up the phone. So he's that guy. Coach Nick. When I was at 95 when they won state.
Yeah, what SUC say.
I can remember Saturday night being in my TV room and watching it on HSE, the old Southwest, whatever it is now, used to be called HSE. And they would show the state games. And I can remember watching that. And I remember all the drama that went on prior to that game, but I remember seeing Sue and Paco and all of those guys. They went through Houston and they did it. They won it for Mo City. You know what I mean? So that was another good one. Coach Nick is legendary. I didn't know him that much. All my friends in my neighborhood, like I said, I was on the Dulles. But you just hear about Coach Carabon and the things that he did at Dulles.
Of course.
You know, regardless of say what you want to say, you didn't want to run no Princeton, you didn't want to do no back cuts, you didn't want to do all the chin and all that stuff, but he got dubs. You know, he got dubs. So the coaches, you know, and even now, I mean, you got great guys like Coach Johnson at Ridge Point, Coach Thomas, my guy Coach Price at Clemens. Man, it's every night. You know, I talked to Coach Courtney one time and he said it wasn't just about whoever had the best athletes. You had to coach.
Yeah, because I'm looking at like Coach Courtney was facing Coach Wise at Hightower.
Coach Wise, and then who else came through Hightower? Peavy went to Hightower.
Peavy went to Hightower.
Coach Green was at Hightower. Yeah. I mean, all of this is a little bit after me.
Yeah.
But man, the coaching staffs were top notch, just as on par as the players.
I do have a statement, a funny statement that I have to kind of just say. Because I'm a Mo City guy. You say that you're a Mo City guy.
As I am. Yeah.
So one of my best friends, we give him a hard time because he says because he went to Stafford High School. Okay. So how does that kind of how am I supposed to kind of receive that when you went to Stafford? Yeah. And I always just say Mo City, and Stafford are two different things, even though it's around the corner.
It's literally, man, look. I live in at the time, I lived in the neighborhood right directly behind the football field. So I'm in Mo City. I'm from Mo City. I just walked to school there for 2 years. That's it.
I just want to kind of just get that out of face because one of my best friends, he went to Stafford.
Yeah.
But every time I just said, when that Zero Mo City Dawn song come on, you can't sing.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts, man. That's one of my favorite songs.
I know.
I play it in here for the kids, and they look at me crazy sometimes. I was like, no, we don't listen to this here.
Talk about, well, we're going back to your AAU years.
Okay.
You said Houston Jaguars. Yeah. So just talk about that time and kind of just talk about the differences in AAU now than AAU then.
Okay. So, got to shout out Miss Elaine Jones, one of the godmothers of Houston grassroots basketball. She took on the Hal Passioners.
Okay.
The John, she took on everybody, you know, she was tough. And it was tough. Used to try to take players all the time, but, you know, because she was a woman and probably tried to take advantage of it, but she held it down. So I got to give her a shout out. I think AAU is different because it's not as exclusive as it used to be.
Yeah, too many teams.
Yeah. When I grew up, you had, 2 Nike teams in Houston. It was Houston Hoops and Houston Jaguars. You have 2 Adidas teams, Houston Select and Houston Superstars. And that was pretty much it. You know, everybody else was just mom and pops, you know, which is good, you know, because there wasn't as many tournaments as there are now. Like now you got the circuit, they playing every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or whatever it is, however it is. But back then, like I said, we only had like 4, maybe 5 tournaments that we went to, and they were big tournaments. Like I remember going to Boo Williams. I can remember playing Yao Ming against SoCal Hoops, and play against Yao Ming going into my senior year. SoCal Hoops in Wide World of Sports and AAU National. I remember I didn't play. I'm gonna say that now. I didn't play going into my junior year, but Houston Jaguars won Peach Jam. We beat Damian Wilkins and Georgia Stars in the semifinals, and we walked up on this dude from Little Rock, Arkansas that gave us 30, Joe Johnson.
Okay.
So, and we won. We had Tyleek Brown, he's out of New York, but all-time leading assist holder at UConn.
Okay.
We had Falou, we had Phil, we had Ivan, we had a good team. But like I said, back then, a lot more exclusive. Now it's a lot more inclusive. You know, you get tournaments every weekend. And I'm not against it because our guys get to play. You know, it's not like they're not playing. They're getting the opportunity to play. It's just the levels are different.
I do kind of want to have, because you're a basketball coach now. In your opinion, what do you feel like the AAU coach and the high school coach relationships has to be?
There has to be one.
Okay.
There has to be one. You can't separate and try to, you know, possibly maybe move kids or talk bad about the coaches. High school coaches can't talk bad about AAU coaches. I think there definitely has to be a relationship, you know, and like I say, I've developed a relationship with a lot of AAU coaches. Like for one, Bobby Benjamin with the Raptors. Yeah. Like we've had a ton of kids, because they're right here in A-League, but we've had a ton of kids that went through there. Brandon Love, DJ Stewart, we got a kid now, Michael Dana, who, you know, 6'6" kid that can be something for us. I know they're gonna do it the right way. I know they're gonna hold the kids accountable. They're not gonna hold their hand. They're gonna fuss at them and yell at them, just kind of like how we do it, but they're also gonna teach them basketball and love on them like we do it. So I think there definitely needs to be a relationship. I think that's the missing link. I think there's definitely a separation sometimes with AAU and high school.
But I would say for a coach like you, is it easier because you kind of been through it? Because to me, you're still in that era that you could kind of still relate, because I still think you as a fairly young coach that, you know, like you've done it, like pro, Division I, everything that Peach Jam, like everything that these kids want to accomplish, you've done it. So what do you kind of say to the coaches that are kind of on the older side that kind of don't understand? Because, you know, by the time basketball is getting younger and younger, like coaches are getting younger by the minute. And especially at AAU, some coaches are 22, 23, coaching high-level teams.
Right. Man, these youngsters don't care about what we did back in the 90s. You know, I mean, you throw certain key words out there like Peach Jam, and you know, you play Nike, you play D1, but you know, the kids nowadays, they're a lot more smarter. You know, they see it. They have access to everything basically. So the upper echelon kids that's on YouTube and not YouTube, but Twitch and TikTok, they get to see all of these things. That's a struggle that I struggle with, trying to relate to the kids and try to get them how we need them to play, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? What it takes to get to those levels. That's a struggle that I now deal with.
My biggest issue was almost the sense of loyalty.
Oh, that's, Go ahead.
Because I just think like, just And I think you're seeing it right now in the college game, but you can almost see it in the professional ranks too.
Just trickles down.
Yeah, so it just trickles down. So that's my whole thing. Is like I just feel like when you hear too many voices, but I feel like there is sometimes that you gotta have to leave and kind of blossom in your situation. But there are some cases like, why are you leaving?
Like, okay, so I'll bring it up like Tyler Smith.
Okay.
Tyler had to go. Tyler could have grown. He could have. But Tyler wanted to win state. He wanted to do all these things. But Tyler's ultimate goal was to get to state, to get to the NBA, and he achieved that goal. And I think he had to go to OT. He had to focus on basketball. He had to go against guys every day with that same goal. He had to.
So the only reason why I've kind of disagreed, because I just think in Tyler Smith's case, I saw a guy that was the number one player in the state of Texas. Now I'm saying that's the second largest in the United States. I feel like no matter what, Tyler Smith could have been seen.
Right, but it's not so much about being seen. You know how the politics work in basketball now. But like back in our day, there was no OT, and it pops up 2 years before he makes that jump. So you can't turn down that money and go up there. His path was OTE, G League, League, and he lived it. He got it, and I'm extremely proud of him. I'm happy for him, and I hope he continue to blossom.
Yeah, I got you. Recruiting process, Coach. Obviously, you started off at Southern Mississippi.
Yeah. So going back to high school.
Yeah.
I had a couple schools interested.
Talk to him.
Texas Tech was interested in.
Okay. Was Bobby Knight there at the time?
No, not there.
Okay.
Not there. No. I would have loved to play with Bobby Knight, but no. It was Coach James Dickey.
Okay.
But the guy that the reason I wanted to go to Texas Tech was Alvin Brooks. He recruited me. I remember him when he was at U of H.
Coach at Lamar.
Head coach at Lamar now.
Yeah.
But, man, he was on me. And I think at the time, like I say, my best friend is Ivan McFarland. And they wanted Ivan bad. So I was like a package deal, I think. Ivan was the big suitcase. I was a little duffel.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. If I was gonna be able to go to Texas Tech, I was okay with that. And then I got to play in a little bit, and he came to a few more games. Oh no, you can play. You all right? You got a long way to go. You gotta get some meat down in me and get a little bit better. I was like, all right, I can do that. So it was between Texas Tech and it was JUCO, Blinn, Coach Spurley. Those are the only two major options that I had that they really wanted me. So I committed to Blinn just because I didn't get my SAT score until late. I wish it was. I had good grades. I just couldn't pass the doggone test until late. So I get it late, but they have already they already got their guys Tech, and they wanted me to go to South Plains. I was like, I'm not going all the way to West Texas. It's junior college when I can go to Brennan. Yeah. So Coach Spurlin recruited me. So I'm there. It's 2 weeks. I hate to tell this story. It's 2 weeks before school starts, and another guy that was recruiting me at Northern Iowa, he gets a job at Southern Miss. He's like, hey, I heard you got your test score. You want to come on and visit Southern Miss? I go down to Southern Miss. It's over with. I tell him I want to come. I call Coach Spurlin probably within that week. I say, Coach, I got the opportunity for me to get D1 without, going to Blinn. I hate it. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to decommit from you and then go to Southern Miss. And it sucked. It hurt, but my dad made me make that call because he's like, if you're gonna do it, be a man and do it.
Yeah.
So I made the call, I go to Southern Miss, and then my journey starts in college.
So Southern Miss was Conference USA.
So that was one, yeah, go ahead.
So you run into a young D Wade.
Okay, so.
And Marquette,
The reason why I went to Southern Miss because U of H was in Conference USA at the time.
Okay.
So I'm able to come home every year. That was my mindset. And I was mad because U of H never talked to me when I was in college. They never even sent a letter.
Was Clyde still the coach at the time?
Clyde was the coach at that time, but he wasn't when I was in high school. I don't remember who was in high school. But yeah, but I hated it. I wanted to go to U of H as a kid.
With your boy, Alton Ford.
Oh yeah.
Went to U of H.
Yeah. Well, they had Alton and George was there. I think they had just signed G. Gervin that year. They wasn't a few JUCO kids. My boy Chad Hendrick, shout out to Madhouse in Madison. He was at at U of H at the time. But I wanted to go to U of H. They never gave me a call. They never did anything for me. So I go to Southern Miss, and they tell me, hey, you're going to redshirt this year. We're going to put some weight on you. You're going to learn how it is to be a college player. We're going to look for you to be a good player as a redshirt freshman. Cool. I'm fine with that. First season goes by good. We split the conference with Cincinnati. Go to the NIT. Huh?
Bobby Huggins.
Bobby Huggins.
K. Morton was still
K. Morton graduated my senior year. Okay. So they had Donald Little. They had Steve Logan.
Okay.
They had a whip. They had
Bob Huggins teams over.
Bob Huggins always had a whip. St. Louis was cold. DePaul had big Andre Brown, and then Q was a sophomore that year. Yeah, Q, and he went to the league I think that year.
Yeah.
South Florida was cold. I mean, UAB was always tough. U of H was good. I mean, it was Conference USA was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those. Memphis. So my sophomore year is the year that Cal got there, I think.
Yeah.
Cold. And my sophomore year, that's when a guy named what's his name from his kid is at Arkansas now.
DeJuan Wagner. I already know. It's like DeJuan Wagner, yes.
So D-Wags is there. So my sophomore year is we go up to Marquette and play. And this is D-Wade at the city year.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We graduated the same year. So he sits a year.
Yeah.
He plays that second year and you just see it. He ain't getting to it.
Yeah.
But you see it. And then that next year, and then that 02-03 year, that's when he becomes D-Wade.
D-Wade.
Yeah. So Conference USA was cold. Louisville, I can't forget Louisville. Louisville had Denny Crum was the head coach, legendary coach.
Yeah, Denny
at Louisville. So yeah, it was every night there was something.
Carlos was at
Louisville.
Yeah, Carlos Hurt.
Yeah. Yep. So that was my sophomore year. When Dante came to Southern Miss with us, we used to watch his games. Patino was the head coach at Louisville at the time. So crazy.
Hey.
Crazy.
And after that, you transferred to JUCO.
Yeah.
Talk about that process and what really went into that decision.
So dumb mistake on my part. I tell the coaches at Christmas, I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. I want to transfer out. And they were trying to give me, hey, just wait. And I said, no, I'm done. So I transfer home at Christmas time without any plans. So I go, I don't know if it was Higgs or Rick Nelson or whoever it was. They used to put on a little showcase at, I think it was Campbell Center. Oak Hill had came down.
Houston versus the nation.
There you go.
Yes.
So I think it was the first year they did it, maybe. I don't remember.
Okay.
But Carmelo was coming to town. I remember him on the Oak Hill team.
Yeah.
So I go there and I say, man, there's gonna be some coaches there. I'm go and try to talk to some. So at the time, Coach Brooks is at North Texas. I see him. I say, hey, Coach, I'm transferring. I'm at home. I'm looking for a spot. All right, we'll see. We'll try to recruit. And I get nothing. And now I'm like, dang, did I mess up? And yeah, there's some regret. So the one thing that he did tell me, he said, enroll in school, go to HCC, enroll in some hours, keep your stuff up. So I did that, and I'm just waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Probably about April or May, I get a call from my AU coach, or my AU sponsor, Miss Jones. She's like, I got two options for you right now. I just talked to Leonard Hamilton at Florida State.
Leonard Hamilton.
He just got to Florida State from Washington.
Yeah.
From the NBA. Yeah. And then I got University of San Diego. And I'm the first thing, just like everybody else says when I say University of San Diego State. The Aztecs? No. And she's like, no, University of San Diego. I was like, okay. So I'm waiting on Leonard Hamilton, of course. I go look it up on the computer. I was like, oh yeah, I'm with Tallahassee, ACC. Not knowing, I know I'm not that good, but I'm like, man, yeah, I'm gonna go. Never get a call from Leonard Hamilton. But I do get a call from San Diego, and they're like, yo, we're interested in you. We want you to come out to California. I go on a visit. Everything's good. I commit on the visit. Cool. 2 weeks later, they say, yo, you didn't graduate. You didn't play enough games. You don't have a lot of credits. You can still go to junior college. Back then, if you transfer D1, you have to sit a year.
Yeah, sit a year, yeah.
Right? Not like it is now.
Yeah.
So they say you got two options. You can sit, come to San Diego, see how we do things, sit, but you only get to play 1 year. It's okay. They say, oh, you can go to junior college, graduate, get your associates, and then you'll be able to come here and play 2 years. I say, I'm doing that. So they said, we already got a junior college lined up for you. Want to go on a visit? I was like, yeah, I'm not just going to go there. Yeah. So I go all the way to Liberal, Kansas, about 10 hours away from Houston. And me, my mom, my dad, my brother, we drive up, and it's horrible. But I needed it. It was an opportunity for me to play.
That's the thing. I want you to talk about it because obviously, like you just said, you're going to liberal Kansas.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids I want a lot of kids to kind of watch this. Talk about like the mental aspect of kind of making that decision, knowing that you have a goal to kind of get to. Talk about that.
I think that was the thing that helped me. I had my goal. My goal was to get to San Diego, right? So a lot of kids go to junior college. There is no goal. There's a bunch of hope. So they're hoping I'm gonna get a D1, hoping I'm gonna get a school to come at me. But I knew I was going to San Diego, so all I could do was just focus on basketball because I hadn't played. I didn't play my freshman year. I played 4 or 5 games my sophomore year, and I just sat. So I played, and I struggled. Like I wasn't used to the physicality. And Kansas Junior College was one of the best junior colleges in the country. We were ranked that year. We were ranked number 20 going into the season, 22 in the country.
I always kind of look from an outsider looking in with JUCOs. Mm-hmm. They're really just still Division I guys. They just put in a different situation. Yeah. But I feel like when you put a chip and hunger behind them, it extremely plays hard. So gonna just talk about that way in the aspect of a JUCO on. When you get out of a JUCO, I always feel like you leave with battle wounds.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'll just let you know. I had a kid. So I'm coming in as a D1 transfer, and my sweet mate, he's coming in from. The Knights went to Providence. Mm-hmm. So we're the 2 D1 transfers. But then you got other guys that have been there for a year. This is their property. This is their land. And they the guys. They getting recruited by Texas and South Florida and, Texas Tech. So it's tough. Like the competition level is on a different status, and it's like you said, these are all D1 guys for whatever reason, either drugs or grades or getting in trouble. They're at D1, repair themselves to move back up to D1. I mean, they're in junior college to move themselves back up to D1. So it was definitely tough, but I needed it, like I said, because I hadn't played in 2 years. So I needed to play, and I needed to play well. And I knew I had a spot, but I needed to get my name out there.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? That had got to the point. When I was a kid, I just played. I didn't have the insight like Carlos Hurt had. He wasn't just gonna beat you, he was gonna tell you about it too. I didn't have that swag until I got to like junior college, and they kind of helped me with that because shoot, I couldn't just beat y'all and we go back to the dorms and now you feel a certain way about me. No, I had to beat you and let you know about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and then we just do it again the next day, and that's how we all got better. So that was important, and that was very instrumental. I needed to go to junior college. I had my goals set. I played, and I played well. I ended up getting MVP of the conference, Jayhawk West Conference, and that just jumped me.
How much confidence does that give you going into San Diego?
Oh,
so talk about that.
So it's crazy because they're going to the NCAAs. Mm. So they beat Gonzaga at
RxU.
Yeah, they beat Gonzaga, and Gonzaga had Ronnie Terrioff was his sophomore.
Adam
Morrison wasn't there yet. Okay. They had Blake Stepp, and they had Corey Violet. Great team. They ended up going to, I think they went to Sweet 16, that year, but great team. But my guys, they were all leaving. And I'm watching them, I'm like, okay, I just got MVP of the conference here. I'm going there, my confidence is through the roof. I'm gonna go there and play, and we going to the NCAA tournament too.
So what year are we looking at right now?
I'm in junior college 02 to 03.
Okay.
I get to San Diego the summer of 03. So Morrison is a freshman my first year. Okay. Another freshman, they have a heck of a recruit class. Derek Ravio, point guard.
Ravio, yeah.
Killer. And I mean, Ronnie is a junior. They get this kid in junior college, JB Batista.
Yes.
Monster.
So every time I think of that Gonzaga team, I think of the loss to UCLA.
Yep. So them, and then they had Corey Violet was a senior that year. Okay. Blake Stepp was on that team too. So they still had a great team.
Yeah.
And I'm going to San Diego. A few is there. I'm like, man, we're gonna do the same thing. We went 4 games. We went 4 games. My first year in San Diego, we went 4 games, and not even close. And it was a horrible year. Good because I got a chance. I broke my foot at the beginning of the year. It was just a bad season. And then the next year we do great. We win 17. Big transfer and win 17 games. And this is the point where I'm like, yo, I can play on the next level. It wasn't until I was a senior I knew I could play that. Because we played again. We played Arizona. We played, Gonzaga was good. We played Arizona State. They had Ike Diagu from Dallas, I think. Man, we played some killers, and I held my own. So,
and this is like 04, 05.
It's 04, 05.
So it's funny, 04, 05, I think that was the year I really started focusing on college basketball.
Yeah.
My first team, I always tell everybody, was Illinois Fighting Illini with D. Brown, Luther Head, and Darren Williams. Yeah. I thought they were the best team in the country until they ran up against North Carolina.
That's funny, because I'm a Tar Heel fan, and my wife went to Carolina.
Oh.
So I've been a Tar Heel fan since I saw Vince Carter and Antoine in like 96.
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah. So like 04, 05 was my first
that year
literally focusing on college. I was an NBA guy, yeah. But when they lost to North Carolina, I cried. I blamed Bruce Weber and everything.
Carolina was tough though.
Yeah.
But that Illinois team, they were really good. Really good.
So now you're going pro.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Now it's almost different culture shock. So so just talk about, not even really, we can get to the basketball part, but just talk about the different experiences across the country.
So you go there, they send me a ticket. I fly into Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell me anybody's coming to pick me up. They don't tell me anything. So I'm just there looking. And my assistant coach, he picks me up. He notices me. I'm one of the few black guys there. So they pick me up. I'm tall and black, so they pick me up. So we go, and the basketball is the basketball. But like I said, at that time, you were practicing twice a day. So let's just say 5 hours out of the 24 is basketball. Those other 19 to 20 hours, what are we doing? You're sleeping 8. So what are we doing? And I'm trying to figure that part out. And you talk about maybe a culture shock. It was a huge culture shock. No one spoke English. There aren't any like food places. They don't really do fast food like that. Yeah. So if I'm going to a restaurant, I got to learn how to speak the language or how to relay, hey, I'm hungry, I need something good to eat. And I want to eat something that I normally eat. Now I don't want to eat something that I don't know of, So going through that process was tough. I finally got it. Germany is an awesome place. I wish I would have finished my career. I wish I would have stayed my career in Germany, because it's a great place to live.
Okay.
The bigger cities you go to, but also the league is really good. Mm-hmm. The league is awesome. Bundesliga is awesome. One of the best spots you can go to. You can get paid. You go get your money on time.
Oh yes, I was gonna get the money on time.
Yeah, you go get your money on time, but also, I mean, if you do well in Bundesliga, you just go up. You go to Berlin. You go to right now Munich is Bonn. And you can just live. It's Western Europe. It's good.
When you're in professional, obviously you weren't here in the States for a time.
Right.
What are you hearing on the Houston high school scene? Because obviously you got your little brother, class of 08 at Marshall for Coach Nick. What are you hearing while you're in
OA?
Yeah.
So I'm hearing about Fort Bend. I'm hearing about all the guys that's coming out of Fort Bend. But I'm also hearing about Houston. I'm hearing about TMG. I'm hearing about all the guys. I'm hearing about all the coaches. I'm hearing about the guys that's coming out winning state and all of that stuff. And I don't really get into it until probably because we didn't have internet like that. We had it, but it was like, I'm not looking on.
It was spotty.
It's different. It was different. So it wasn't until I got to Belgium, probably 3 years later, where, now I can go to Cron.com, HoustonChronicle.com, and I can see they're putting up news articles on the high school kids. So I'm starting to see, man, there's some talent in there. It's still open. Yeah. And then I
hear about Yates.
Hear about the Yates teams and how they just beating everybody by 100 points. It actually, I'll tell you a story. It actually made, so they have, it's different, it's CNN World over there, not regular CNN like here. And they made CNN over there,
CNN World,
because they beat somebody by 105 points or something like that. And I was like, man, that's in Houston. And I was telling all my guys, all my teammates, that's where I'm from. They from our area. They good. So I'm getting a chance to hear a little bit more. And the further I go in my career, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. And my wife's father, my father-in-law, he's like, man, you might want to think about getting a teacher and coaching.
Yeah.
And I did not want to because of my dad. He was so hard on me. And you can, like you said, you cool with Dante. You can let you know how my dad was on me. And I just kept thinking, what do I want to do? And probably about like my last year in Hungary, which was, I played 2 more years after that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my teacher certificate. Well, and that's when I really started focusing on. This was like 13, 14. So I heard about, the 2010 Bush kids. I'm hearing about the twins. I'm hearing, like it's in the mix.
Wheeler and Hobson are
live again.
Yeah.
So, I'm hearing about all these things. I was like, man, I'm trying to get into that. I'm trying to help the kids that help, me help the kids like I got help. So, got my teaching certificate, started figuring out paths, and once I retired, or I ain't gonna say retired, once I just quit playing, head full of steam towards becoming a teacher and a coach.
What made you find Bush out of all places?
Coach Courtney. I got a job at North Shore just teaching U.S. history mid-year. So I got the U.S. history gig in December. And Coach had posted a opening. It was at Bush, and it was assistant coach. He was gonna teach social studies. Well, I teach social studies, so I'm good. I want to coach basketball, and I know Coach Courtney. Coach Courtney, he grew up with my dad on the South Side. So I was like, man, I know Coach Courtney, so I know he good. Yeah. So I'm gonna go there. Well, I'm gonna apply there. And so I interview, and I don't hear nothing for a couple of days. I'm like, hey, man. So I hit my dad up and said, hey, man, can you reach out to Coach Courtney and see what's going on? And my dad called me back, and he said, this is the best thing Coach has ever done for me. He said, well, probably the second step. He said, yeah, I already told him to hire him. He good. He wasn't in on the interview. I had not talked to him. I had not heard from Coach Courtney. But he saw my name. Coach Aldridge and the principals, they sent my name to Coach Courtney. Oh, I want that guy. I want him to take my spot. I want him to fill my position. And probably a day or so after, I get a call back from Coach Aldridge. Yeah, we hired you. You're going to be, at Bush Bronco. I'll see you in orientation in a couple weeks. And I had not talked to Coach Courtney. You know what I'm saying?
Is that the mystique of Courtney?
That's how he is. That's how he is. He going to help everybody, but he don't want the credit. He going to help everybody.
You arrive at Bush in 15, 16. 15, 16. So this is the time when you guys were probably the top team in 5A, other than the Elvis Knights. Coach Thomas, I will always remind somebody, Coach T, who was the best team in the state that year, even though that was one of 3 losses. So it's okay. It was 1 of 3, Coach.
We beat them, man.
And we know what really happened. I got the video clip with judges, but talk about that year specific. Well, it's your first year.
Right.
And obviously you guys are in big games.
Right.
I think, did you guys beat Lancaster that year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys beat, I think you guys did.
Beat Lancaster twice a year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Y'all beat them that year.
Yeah.
But you got PJ Bird, Remy Minor, obviously Bryson. I think Jalen Carter was on that team.
He was on the team.
G-Rob was on that team.
Yep.
The big kid, I forgot what the big kid's name was.
I forget his name.
Yeah. But just talk about
praise. Not praise. I forget it though.
You're coaching next to probably the best coach in the state of Texas.
Yep.
What do you learn from him, and what do you grasp, the energy that you grasp in big games?
Okay, in big games, don't talk to Coach Courtney. Don't talk. He got it. He got it. He plays the game in his head all day, and that's his deal. So you don't bother Coach throughout the day. You don't say nothing to him. You don't say nothing until after the game is won.
I have a question. With you. I was saying that's what I'm at. He got the Coach Courtney stool right there. The stool and everything. I'm not trying to sit here and try to make no accusations because I love RC. Is the game won as soon as a Bush team steps on the court? Because everybody just knows, Coach Courtney is very, very comical. He's actually slowed down.
He slowed down a ton.
He slowed down this year.
Yeah, he slowed down a ton.
But we know Coach Courtney's great relationship with some of these guys that wear the black and white stripes. A lot of people used to be like, we ain't getting out of there.
Yeah.
So just talk about, they think that Coach Tom, they call me Coach Courtney, almost in a big Fort Bend game, Coach Courtney ain't losing.
So the fact that you say that, that lets you know that he has an effect on you. Yeah, he's been around forever. He knows all the refs and everything. But Coach just wants a fair game. He knows who to talk to, how to talk to him when things are right. But if like you see him now, like I was surprised this year watching him against, Port Arthur Memorial? And he just sat there the whole game. And it was a close game. And then even at the state game, it was a close game. Like he just sat there and coached. He trusted his guys so much. Now back then, Coach was running up and down the sideline. And he did that because, in my opinion, that was his way to put his persona on the kids that's playing. You know what I mean? He put his mental on his kids to see him going up and down the sideline with the passion and the energy that it takes to win Fort Bend games, to win playoff games, to win and go to state, regional, and state games. Like he got to the point to where he felt like he had to help put that on the court during games. But the practices were crazy.
Talk about those practices.
The practices were extremely tough, you know, and he put so much pressure on the kids for him during practices that the games were easy. I mean, you hear that all the time from, you know, coaches and players. Man, we used to practice so hard. The practices were tougher than the games. That's how it was here, man. When I first got here, I didn't know I didn't know how to coach. I knew basketball, but I didn't know how to coach. So he just told me, he's like, man, just watch, observe. If you got questions, if you have anything to say, go ahead. But just, you know, get up under your feet a little bit, you know? And so that's what I would do. And then he would never, this is what I hate about Coach. He never gave you duties. You knew what needed to be done, so you did it. You didn't wait.
But why did you hate that about him? Because to me, it just looks like it would make you even sharper.
Exactly. I hated it at the time because I didn't know if I was supposed to be doing something and I didn't get it done, or if I did too much. I hated it at the time because I didn't know what, like I said, I didn't know what to do. But now I think back on it, he made me a better coach by saying this needs to be done. We got to have the clock and the book out ready. We got to have the water for the officials. We got to have this and we got to have that. We got to have this. It wasn't a list because you do a list, that's fine. But you know what you're supposed to do. So just go and do it. And that's how he got on us his last year at Bush one game. And from that game forward, he didn't have to worry about anything. All he had to worry about was the game. And we built that culture. Coach built that culture for his assistants. And, I think that was part of the success.
I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit to 16, 17, 18. Those years.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because we know what you guys kind of did in the regular season. I'm co-district champs probably all 3 years when PJ, Bryson, and Remy was running, but like 16.
Not cold. I think we won outright.
No, 16 y'all were cold. Hey, Coach Thomas, I'm not going to let him do that to you. I already know. 16,
okay.
Then we're co-district champs.
Okay, we'll take it.
We split 1-1, man.
We split 1-1. Okay, yeah. My bad.
Yeah, 16. Beaumont Central.
Yeah. Tough one, man. I mean, we run it. We show up late for the game. We get stuck in traffic. And Central was a good team. Yeah. You know, we had the game won. We didn't execute at the end of the game. Turned the ball over a little bit. Didn't hit some free throws. They hit some free throws and they hit some crazy shots and they won the game.
17, Cy Falls, regional finals.
Regional final.
One game away to get to the state semis.
Yeah.
I've always felt like that game was literally about your big three almost versus their big three. Sure. And I've always said the key matchup was going to win this game, and I'm not trying to put it on anybody, was whoever played better out of, shout out Andrew Wynn and Remy Minor.
Okay.
That was who was, to me, that was going to win that game. I said, out of Andrew Wynn and Remy Minor, whoever plays better, that's who's going to win the game.
Yeah.
I think on that night, Andrew played exceptionally well.
He had a couple threes.
Yeah.
I think it's always with the point guard play. I think it was between Trey and PJ.
Oh yeah,
And Trey was their engine.
Yeah.
You know, we knew about everybody else, DJ and I forget the Nigel and we knew Andrew was gonna shoot.
Yeah.
But Trey was the engine, and he was just he was tough. He was tough. He made plays down the stretch. He got them going. And my cousin, his son graduated from South Falls. He was on the team that was with JoJo now. He was a point guard on that team.
Okay.
But he follows them too. So he told me, he was like, man, y'all gonna have to stop Trey. If y'all don't stop Trey, then it's gonna be a long night for y'all. And that's what happened, man. Trey got going. So once he gets going, Nigel is going, takes the pressure off DJ, and now Andrew gets some open looks, and we just couldn't hit no shots in the second half.
In the back of Courtney's mind, I don't know, in the back of your mind too.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel if you guys win that game, you guys are state champions? Yeah. Because eventually we saw what Cy Falls did. They won the state title. Yeah. Even though I believe Clyde Forest was the best team that year in the city, but it took Skyline stalling the ball for them to to kind of get rid of them. But do you guys feel like that was
I remember this from 2001 when Coach Courtney went to state, or 2000 when Coach Courtney went to state. He said, "Just get me there. We're gonna figure it out. If we get to San Antonio, I think we'll figure it out. Coach is gonna figure it out. So all we have to do is get there. Kids we just have to get there. We get there, we're gonna win semifinal, we're gonna win final. We're gonna have rings. We're gonna have another banner right next to that one, and yeah."
2018.
Yeah.
Coach Courtney.
Yeah.
Second round, Seven Lakes, Katie Tompkins.
Yeah.
A part of it, I know that was a hard game. I feel like I'm part to blame too, because and the reason why I say that, there's been a lot of times that I felt like I've made predictions.
Yeah.
And I think players never admit if they see it, but they end up losing that game, because there was one year with Braylon, what's it, the one at Silsby Bush. I said he is entering 19-0 when they played Yates. He was 19-0, like maybe 12-0 in the playoffs. I go to the Yates game, he loses. Like, easy, why would you put that on Twitter before that? I was like, my bad, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Man, look.
Yeah, but just talk about that 2018 game and a controversial call, knowing that ends the era of Coach Courtney, but that also ends that Bush era of PJ, Bryson, and Warren.
Yeah. I think we had a good team. No, I scratched it. I think we had a really good team the year before. But the way we were playing their senior year, you couldn't tell me we weren't going to make it. You couldn't tell me.
Well, what's funny? I think that there was a lot of teams that was in your way, because I look at a Cy Falls who was returning everybody. Mm-hmm. I felt like that 2018 year was actually one of my favorite years. So I'm looking at Kendrick Davis. He was really, really motivated. Honestly, I really think, but the way that y'all got dismantled, Tamir Bynum in that second round in Lamar. Yeah. So I just feel like that year, 18 specifically, was a lot of good guard play. I feel like it was anybody's game.
Yeah.
That's what.
And the great thing that Coach does, he schedules tough. So we played Lancaster. I mean, it's a tournament. We played Lancaster. They had, what's his name? TJ Starks. TJ Starks was an A&M kid, a big time kid out of Dallas. We played them in McDonald's, and we just beat them.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best teams in the state.
Yeah.
And so from that day forward, I was like, Coach, I believed in us. The way Peter had flipped his mind to be he had always been a team guy, but he was even more of a team guy. The way Remy was playing and the way Bryson was playing, man, that's a tough three. Yeah. That's a tough three, and they all in the backcourt. Yeah. And you know, the offense we were running was good for us, and it was just I didn't see anybody getting in our way. And then things we talk about in the scouting report and the practice the day of games and day before games, things that can't happen, they happen in that game.
And I think Coach Courtney had really told everybody that last game at Bush,
They play hot game.
Yeah, that was going to be his last year. What is the feeling in the locker room after that game, knowing that was Coach Courtney's last one?
When we lost to
Tompkins.
that was tough because we lose these seniors, but everybody's mad about the call. So the anger is there and the emotions are still there. It's not just sadness because we lost the game. We feel like we got cheated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that part doesn't hit until the bus ride home or maybe the next day when we like, man, we can't do nothing about it. The game's over. We're done. Seniors are done. Coach is done. You know, so it sucked. But like he would say, you got to keep on going.
Then, Coach, you become the head coach of the Broncos. Just talk about that transition. Obviously,
that was tough.
Taking over. And now you get the call that you're the guy. Coach, I think Coach Gabe, he goes on. What's with
Cyrus.
Cyrus. So now, the student becomes the teacher.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, I didn't want this job, man. I'm not going to say they forced me to take it. They didn't force me to take it, but I applied for a couple other jobs, and I was hoping I got it because I didn't even want to apply. That was way before I even applied for the Bush job. So we applied for it, and I didn't have a PE cert. So the principal called, Dr. Creer, she calls me in, and she's like, do you have a PE cert? I said, no. She's like, you might want to take the test because we think that basketball coach and PE teacher kind of go hand in hand. I was like, all right, took the test, passed it. And then she calls me in again randomly. And she's like, what do you know, tell me about the team, the upcoming team. Tell me about the youngsters. And I did. I was like, I knew everybody. We do all the sub-varsity practices and stuff like that. So I knew everybody. She was like, okay. So then we have the interview. And on the last day of school, Coach Smallwood, Coach Aldridge, they called me into the field house and said, we're going to offer you the job. And I just stood there and stuck for a long time because I didn't know if I wanted it. I knew it was big shoes to fill. It's a tough district. I didn't know if I was ready. And they asked me, do you want it? I said, yeah, real quick. They're talking here. Yeah, they're doing all this talking. And in my mind, I'm like, say yes or no. Say yes or no. Do I want it? Don't I want it? And then when they asked me that, I was like, yeah, I want it. And from that day forward, it was just learn. I'm looking at videos, I'm talking to the guys, building relationships with them, figuring out the young guys, doing all that stuff, and just go.
Coach, you actually go, that's 2019. You go on a magical run.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
Magical run, 4 rounds. 4th round, you guys lose to George Ranch and Coach Charlie Jones.
My boy.
Yeah, you got at George Ranch with. Yeah, Coach, talk about that. Because a lot of people didn't know how Bush was going to be. Obviously, at that time, Elkins was still the man, Donovan Williams and Colin Warren and those guys.
Right.
But you guys make it to the 4th.
So the season for us is up and down. We win some games, we lose some games. We go to McDonald's, I think we won 1 game. We beat Westfield, and we get killed by Allen by Allen by 50.
Manny Obaseki.
Yeah, man, they killed us. And then we get to a point, it was, we beat Clements here before Christmas, and it was another district game. And we get to the point where it's like, all right, we got to stay together. They were beefing a little bit. I didn't know how to deal with that. This is my first year at Clemson. They're beefing a little bit. And we just had, instead of practice, we just had a talk one day. And we just talked and figured it out. We go into Elkins. We go to E-House. Not supposed to win on a Friday night.
I think I was there too. I was there. I think Braylon John had a great game.
Braylon had 26.
Yeah.
And he hit 4 or 5 threes. And Coach Courtney is not coaching right now. So I call him, I say, Coach, I need to win this game. Tell me what I need to do. Like, Coach, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not practicing with you. But if I were you, I would zone Elkins the whole game. You're going to give up some shots. You're going to give up some jumpers. But Colin wasn't a really great three-point shooter. They weren't a great three-point shooting team. The stretch was a good shooter. But if he's shooting a bunch of threes, that's taking him away from the basket. We had some size. We can be able to get some rebounds if he misses. So I 2-3 zoned him. No, I 3-2 zoned him the whole game. And it was close, and it was close, and it was close. And then once we got into that fourth quarter and we got up like 8, I was like, we got it, dog. And that was, I think that was the last time they played a game, like with the big team. No disrespect, but like they played like a us or Travis or at Elkins High School, I think.
Because I think
now they start playing all the games at the Fieldhouse. Yeah. So and it was like, I got the fans back here. They talking trash to me. And I'm young, like you say, I'm not that far removed from playing, so I'm talking back to him. And there's a guy back there. He was like, "Coach, y'all ain't gonna win." I said, "Watch, we're gonna win." And we just going back and forth and stuff I can't really say on this podcast. So we go back and forth. But the coolest thing, he came to me after the game. He was like, "Man, Coach, y'all did good. Y'all good." And so we go in the gym and locker room and we celebrate. And Coach T, he's the one to wash the clothes. He's like, "Coach Gay, come here." He's like, "Man, congratulations, but." How y'all celebrating now is how we celebrating when we beat y'all, or we beat Bush in, what was that, 16? No, yeah, 16, when they went to state?
Yeah.
He's like, that's the same thing, Coach, you're gonna do a good job. And I took from that day forward, I had always had a ton of respect for Coach T. He's one of the first ones to call me and text me when I got the job and say if I need anything, let him know. But from that day forward, man, I was like, man, I know I got an ally. For this guy to say that, and I'm only in this thing a couple years, and for him being in it for a little while, I think I'm doing the right thing.
Coach, I want to kind of get some quick hitters.
Go ahead.
So, Coach, you already know, man, I need that much Mount Rushmore Fort Bend coaches.
Hey, man, that's tough.
Or Fort Bend basketball coaches.
Fort Bend basketball coaches. So, like I said, we got to exclude 2000 to 2016, kind of. First guy got to be Coach Court. Cause he almost got. Yeah, if he would have got it this year, that would have been 3 states with 3 teams, 2 different classifications. That's pretty. That's crazy. So, all right, was Bush 6A?
Well, it was.
Were they 5A?
It were no 6A.
Oh, okay. So, 3 different schools. Let's just say like that. Okay. Next one got to be Coach Nick, watching 95, watching them win state.
17.
Oh, man. And just the vibe of Mo City at that time, the whole Mo City was behind.
Yeah.
Really rich. Got to give Coach Thomas for his longevity and the things that he's been able to do. He has a tough team every year.
Yeah.
The last one. Can I do Cole or?
You know what? I'm going to give him Cole because.
Let me do 5?
I'm going to let you do 5.
Top 5. It's got to be Coach Bronson and Coach, guy from Dulles, Coach
Carabon.
Coach Carabon. What Coach Carabon did at Dulles was his longevity and the things that he was able to do at Dulles. He went to state, also. And, they're our rival. I don't want to give Coach Bronson this love, but I got to, man. Like, he's going to state and having however many district championships and, just him winning and being a good guy. Yeah, I got to give it to him.
Coach, there's one thing I want to touch on, and I didn't kind of just realize because now I just realized where I'm at. Coach, you're a Bush Bronco, and obviously tragedy struck this year.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of talk about the man and what Coach Aldridge meant to the program of George Bush throughout every kind of sports, and not even throughout the sports, throughout the school.
Throughout the school.
You just talked about, because I know that was a big hit for you guys, because the stories that I hear is that he was more of a coach. So just more than a coach.
Man.
Talk about Coach Aldridge.
So, Coach Aldridge gave me my start. He was on my initial interview, and he gave me my start as head. He told me he wanted me to be the head coach. We didn't talk as much, but when we talked, it was always meaningful. I didn't know he was watching. He was never here, and what I mean by here, he wouldn't just come in the gym and just stand there and be like, I'm here, I'm the football coach, I'm Coach Aldridge, I'm gonna watch your practice or your game. But he would know everything that was going on. I go wash clothes and pull them back in the morning. Coach, man, y'all 2 games away from the playoffs. Come on, let's get it done. Or, Coach, don't worry about it. You good. The one thing I knew from Coach Aldridge is that he always had my back. Whether that was good or whether that was bad. He always supported me. And he was more than a coach. He was more than a coordinator. He was more than a teacher. He was the staple in the school. He held the school together. He held it down. And the Mo City guy, went to the Ridge, went to the league, went to U of H, and he was what you would want as him being a coordinator, him being a head football coach, and just him being a friend. I can call him whenever I needed to, I can text him whenever I needed to, and he'll let me know. And if he didn't know, he was gonna say something to make me feel like I was all right, if that makes sense.
When you heard the announcement there was gonna be a school named after him, talk about that, man, because knowing that you were in the trenches with him in the same school, knowing that man, how Fort Bend is honoring him for him to kind of get a school named after him. Talk about that.
The Aldridge legacy is going to live on. And he's a staple, like I say, not only to the school, but in the school district. His daughter goes here, and I get a chance to see her every day. She's about to graduate. She played softball, went to a senior night the other night. And I'm just happy for the Aldridge family because it sucks that he's not here with us. But for them to honor him and for them to say, we're going to name the school after you, that lets you know, not the legacy that he did athletically, but it's the stuff that he did behind closed doors that we don't know about that he got done. And he did a lot of that. We talk about Coach Courtney, how he does stuff behind the scenes. Coach Aldridge was the same way. And, there's a saying around here that we stole from Real Ridge, class and character. He held us to that standard, and he wanted to hold the kids to that standard.
There's a couple more questions I want to ask.
Come on.
One specific player I want to talk about. Obviously, he was the co-district MVP of the district, Brody Thornton.
Yeah.
Just talk about it because obviously we know he's a dual sport athlete, but the one thing that I'm more impressed with is the kid that he is. He'll be coming on the show soon. So but he actually told me, you need to interview Coach Gay. He's actually one of the guys that told me that, hey, you need to interview Coach Gay.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Man, so I probably met Brody when he was 8 or 9, maybe a little bit older, because Coach Thornton is here and football coach, and he was just coming up here all the time. And as an 8th grader, he came into the gym. We were working out one summer. He came, Coach, I'm gonna be here in a couple of years. I said, okay, I can't wait. But I never knew he was gonna turn out to be a district MVP. I knew he always had the work ethic, he had the mental, he had the toughness. But for him to do what he did this year, and for the coaches to recognize him, that just lets you know what type of player he was, and player he is. And the growth and the things that he needs to do to go to that next level, he's going to do it because he just has that mindset. He's a great kid. He's good in his classroom, good in the school, and he's a little tough here on the court. He can get a little tougher again, but he's just gonna be an awesome kid.
There's a name that I want to throw out, and the reason why I want to throw out this name, and I know you're probably not surprised, but I'm a basketball junkie. I want to talk about one guy because I know how much he meant to this district in some ways, in my era specifically, 2011. Head JV coach Ryan Manning. That's my guy. He's 2011. I saw him when he was at Austin. People used to call him Young T-Mac. So I know who Ryan Emanuel was as a basketball player.
Yeah.
But knowing that you kind of hired one of the guys that I feel like I grew up with, because like I said, we're both class of 2011.
Right.
He went to Austin, I went to Elkins. Right. But I know about Ryan Manning for 4 years at Austin, what he was doing.
Yeah.
Talk about him and him bringing a different type of vibe, a guy that has played pro, high Division I, played for Coach Larry Brown, like at SMU.
Yep.
Talk about him.
Man, so we were talking earlier about relating to the kid.
Yeah.
Coach Manuel, he stepped right in and just took that role by storm. All right. So he got with the kids, and he knows their language, he knows their style, and I kind of run the program kind of like Coach Courtney did, by like not really giving lists, but just putting standards out there, and he just took those things by storm. And one of the things that he did this year, specifically as a JV coach, was he started relating to the JV kids, and not just the JV kids, but the program kids, specifically the varsity kids. So he got with them, he got handshakes with all of them. If they're scared to come talk to me, they go to him immediately. Or even if they're not scared to go to me, Coach Manuel might be the first spot. Coach, I got this problem, I got this celebration, whatever it is, they go to Coach Manuel. And all I've done is ask him to just be who you are, and he's excelled at that. You know what I'm saying? That's my guy. I'm glad he's still here with us, and he's gonna be a great coach. He's gonna be a really good head coach one day.
Coach, there's something that I want to kind of ask you personally, because for me, I just achieved the passing of a special education test.
Congratulations.
Back in December.
Right.
So from one teacher to another, what's the biggest advice that you would, certified teacher, because I was a para for a long time, but now I'm a certified teacher for the certificate really just came in March, even though I passed the test in December.
Yeah.
But what is the biggest advice that you would have to give for a young teacher like me?
It's gonna be tough days. Prepare for them, right? But you become a teacher to help our youth. You kind of give up yourself a little bit. You live your life. So now is your time to give back to these youngsters so they can become successful like you are. You know what I'm saying? So that's the mentality that's the mentality that I take every day. I've done my job basketball-wise. I've done my job partying and having fun, all that stuff. Now it's my time to give the knowledge and the keys that I've learned over time back to the youth. That's what I say.
And one of my final questions is talk about your family, the family man you are, the father and your wife, and obviously you said your son is playing baseball, but we didn't really kind of get to him like that. But just talk about them and how much they meant to you, because being a head coach is hard. And sometimes one of my best friends, he's the JP coach at Elkins. Elkins, and the one thing that he tells me easy, I can't take home these losses. I can't take home these losses because now I got to kind of flip the switch. Right. So just talk about for them to kind of be your comfortability when you kind of get home, knowing that after a tough game, but you still got that.
That's funny, man. So my wife, her father was a coach, like I said. He was a football coach and a track coach at Clear Creek. And so she understands. She's been through it as a kid and now as a spouse. So they get it. They understand how much I put into it. They understand how much I care. And they understand from October, November to February, it's gonna be tough. My wife knows she's gonna have to do a lot more because I'm not gonna be there. But with that, my son, it's like he's a part of the team. He'll come, like we played Travis this year, there's a picture I have on Facebook. My wife had to work. And so he's sitting in seat 1 and I'm standing up the whole game. So he coached with me. Against Travis, even though they beat us, so I blame him all the time.
You're all on one, man.
Yeah. So, but to have them with me and them understand it and them not fight me, they kind of like embrace it and they join in the team. We had Teamsgiving here, and my son was playing the games with the kids and giving out food and all that stuff. We just all embrace it, and they understand Dad is a coach and Dad is a head coach, and that's big shoes to fill and big shoes to wear. But we all gonna do it together.
And my final question, Coach, give me one goal that you have for yourself.
I want to say the politically correct question is to go to state, but that's not so much. And to win state. For me, is to see and continue to get calls and texts and sometimes emails from my former players and former students. Hey, Coach. Or if I see him, hey, Coach, man, I appreciate everything you've done. Hey, Coach, I remember when you was telling me this and I didn't want to listen, and I understand what you're saying now. And that's my goal, is to continue to get those compliments. I don't care about wins. I don't care about Coach of the Years. I don't care about. I care about it. I want them for the kids, but not so for me individually. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to keep getting those kids and them saying, appreciate you, everything you've done for me, and keep doing it for the younger kids.
And one thing I want you to say, I want you to kind of take a look in your camera and kind of
All right.
broadcast the All-Star game that you'll be coaching this weekend.
Yeah.
That way people can come out and kind of see that.
Well, come out this weekend. I think we play at 12:30. I think at Hobson Fieldhouse over by Hot Tower. We're going up against Coach Brunson and his All-Stars. I think I got my guys, the Borsey, Ray. I got Dorian, I got Sasser, I got Sargent, Kevin, I got Mr. Patel. And we're gonna go out and have some fun, man. Let these guys go up and down Hobson one more time. And, just have a good time, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Coach. This has been another episode of the Easy Corner. I am sitting next to and got an honor to talk to the legendary Bush head coach, Coach Brandon Gay, man. I appreciate you guys, man. See you next time.